come online. In the meantime, thank you for joining us. This is our first Lunch and Learn. So wherever you're at, hopefully you're having a tasty lunch. I'm on the West Coast, so I'm barely getting my coffee. And if you're not having a tasty lunch, you might be the lucky winner of our gift card from Uber Eats for joining us today. So I'm going to try and stay on our agenda and be respectful of your time. So we're a couple minutes after. So I think I'll start with giving you some brief introductions on our panel and who's going to be available to answer questions this morning. And some of us will be presenting on different topics as well. So I'll start with Tammy Baker's joining us today. She's our COO here at Parker Technology. She's also the creator, designer, finisher of this platform. So she knows it inside and out like the back of her hand. And she's seen it through all the different transformations. So she'll be a great resource to answer your questions today. We also have Lanisha Carson. She was in our call center as both an agent and a supervisor, and she's now our implementation specialist. And in this role, she's responsible for helping clients through the initial onboard process, training on our platform if your staff is the one taking the calls, and as well as creating the facility with all the business rules for our database. And then also joining us is Brett Smith. He is our client success specialist. His role picks up after implementation, and he's responsible for ensuring a smooth go live and beyond. So he's our Buzz Lightyear. You will hear from him about 2 to 4 weeks after go live to review your data, to train on performance page, review reporting, just see if we need to tweak anything, adjust call buckets and things like that. And he works with our existing clients as well for on a cadence to maintain regular reviews of their performance portfolio. And Caitlin is our moderator today. She is on the marketing team, and she'll be helping us with answering questions, or actually posting your questions, helping me with the chat. So thank you to Caitlin for hosting this as well. And my name is Claudia Lopez. For those that I haven't had an opportunity to meet, I'm the client experience manager, and my responsibility is just to manage and guide the implementations and client success journey so that you, our clients, are successful and satisfied with our products and services. And since I can't have you introduce yourselves, first of all, can you guys just give me a quick thumbs up, make sure you can hear me? I probably should have done that from the very get-go. After I did all that speech. If you wouldn't mind in the chat, just give me a thumbs up or a yes that you can hear me. Look at the chat here. Caitlin, you might be able to help here.
Yep, they said that they can hear.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Wonderful. So since I can't have you guys introduce yourselves, I'm going to go ahead and put up a quick poll to help identify our audience. We would just like to know if you are an existing client that uses our platform to take your own calls, or if you're a client that's using Parker to take your calls, or if you're just a prospect or a guest here looking to learn more about our platform. Looks like we've got some polling coming in. Got a few more. All right, if we want to go ahead and show that poll. Can you guys see that, or am I just want to make sure? Yeah. Okay, great. All right, so looks like the majority on here are clients having Parker Technology take their calls. And then we've got almost 20% here with Parker Platform, you taking their own calls. And we've got some guests and visitors, some others. All right, wonderful. So I'm going to Let me see, close this out, close this out. Bear with me, this is all new. I want to make sure I stay on track as well. Okay, so we're going to go through, because we've got some guests, I'm just going to do a brief introduction to our platform. Caitlin, would you mind? We're going to go ahead and show just an agenda so you have an idea. We're going to try and be respectful of your time and keep to this agenda. So we'll have our Parker overview, just some platform basics. We're going to introduce some new features that have come out recently, talk about some underutilized features, and then we'll showcase some of our API functionality, look at the performance page and reporting, and then we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. So I'm going to go ahead then and start off sharing my screen just to go over the platform. All right. Hopefully you guys can see my screen. So this is the platform that all of our call center agents work off of. Just again, a brief overview for those of you that are guests. The great thing about this platform and what you'll see is that it is very, it's unique to your facility, but it's the same for all calls. They all come in the same way so that the CSRs are trained to know exactly where to look, exactly what to do for each scenario. So I'm going to just start at the top. If you have a team going on taking calls, you'll be able to see who's next available so that everyone is taking calls, in order. And if necessary, they can put themselves on unavailable. They have to get up and take a break or whatnot. We also have pods so that each facility can have a pod of, for example, easier calls or more difficult calls. Then we'll put our experienced representatives on those difficult facilities. The top half here is the actual queue. So this is where we will see the calls come in, and the agents will answer the calls in order. It'll show what facility, what management company, which endpoint, if that's the way it's configured, and how long they've been waiting, and what status it's in, and what CSR is answering it. And then the bottom half is historical information. And so right now we're in a staged environment, so we're going to see information that's used when we go to shows, but recent calls will show the last 25 calls. And you'll have an opportunity to see if it's a call center, we'll have the opportunity to see all the calls, or we can just see the calls that I've taken. And then we can see statistics, average call duration, wait time, number of calls that I've taken versus the total number of calls that the call center has taken. And we can see that over a week, a day, a month, a year, and even per hour. And then under the recall tab, we use this, for example, if we are in the process of talking to a customer and the call fails or it drops, depending on the parks equipment and depending on if it's set up with the configuration allows, we can actually recall that endpoint back. And so we can establish connection again. It's just for the client's experience, for the customer experience. They don't have to fumble with trying to call us back. We will try and reach out. So for those features, and then we can also play back, if it's yours, you can play back your own call and check that there. And we'll see more about playbacks on the performance page. So that is a highlight of where this platform, how platform looks. I'm going to have a call come in so that I can answer it. I'm going to take myself off video so that I can answer this call. That's something that we recommend when we're talking to people that are going to be on our platform, is that the video and audio should be dedicated to Parker. So you can see here the facility, the management company, which endpoint is calling me, and how long they've been waiting. So I'm going to answer this call. And here I am, and there's my Parker, my motorist. And what I was saying is that you definitely want to have your computer dedicated to the Parker platform. So if you're used to having like a radio station in the background, or you're taking a Zoom call, you'll have to turn your video off so that it will work on the platform in conjunction. And so what I was mentioning before is that the layout of all our calls from almost 900 facilities now is all the same. So the top left will be who is calling. You have your own welcome message. We can put however you want us to answer your call. We're an extension of your business. So if you want us to answer it by your business name, by the facility name, however you would like us to answer it, that's how we'll answer it. And then it shows the facility and the lane. And then we have some, the business rules are listed here. So depending on the issue, we have about 18 or 19 basic issues that 99% of the calls fall into one of these issues. So if a credit card issue were to happen, then we have the basic rules of how you've given to us on your onboard form. So how should it work? In the pay-in lane, the magnetic stripe needs to be inserted up and to the left. Whatever that rule is how we're going to troubleshoot with our motorist. And then if it doesn't work, what should we do? If we need to send them back to the pay on foot station if they're paying cash, or if there's a credit alternative payment method that they can pay through text to pay, all of those things will be in our rules here in our script so that the CSR, the agent knows exactly how to troubleshoot. And then based on how we ended the call, it'll either be successful or we had to get the information and bend the gate. So we'll select what the resolution is and the call, and that'll all be recorded. I'm going to go ahead and end this call for now. That'll all be recorded in your notes. And if I needed to put any additional notes, I do have the ability to put freehand comments. And then if it needed to be emailed to anyone, if it's standard to be emailed, like you've requested these types of issues be emailed, it'll automatically be checkboxed. If not, I can select that I want it to be sent out. So I'm going to that's a quick highlight. I'm going to do a couple more calls. So, and we'll see when we do the performance page, we'll be able to see how those show up on the reporting feature. So I'm going to wait for another call to come in. Highlight a couple more things. Over on the right, what we have are just some buttons that help us review images. So if I needed to walk through information with the motorist and tell them exactly where to scan their ticket, this is very helpful. It's optional. Sometimes we don't get the pictures, but if you can put the pictures in there, it's very helpful for us to be able to walk through with a motorist. And then we've got rates that we can talk to them about if they ask questions about how much they're being charged, if they're being charged appropriately. We have the rates information. We have facility contacts, who to contact if there is an emergency or someone that we need to reach out to. Some of these I'm going to hang on because they are part of a different part of our presentation. If there's validation that we need to review or talk about, how the ticket looks, we're able to view the ticket and kind of guide them through, hey, the ticket number is the bold number in the middle, things like that. So the more information we have, the more we can talk to a motorist about the information. Devices will tell us if there's more than one endpoint at a facility. We'll be able to see if we can redirect them. If, for example, if a gate's not working, then we may need to tell them, hey, can you try the lane right next to you? I see there's an exit lane right next to you. Things like that. And then sometimes we'll have a floor plan. So if we need to direct them to a pay on foot station, sometimes a floor plan will be helpful, that we can tell them it's right next to, the elevators right there to your right or right there to your left, things like that. And then emergency numbers, we always like to ask for local fire, police, and ambulance. And if there were to be an emergency situation, a caller is having some kind of emergency, then we also have the ability to reach out for that. And one more thing I'm going to do, let's see if we have a facility list. Okay, so facility lists are lists that can help us identify searchable fields. So in this case, it's a monthly list. If I needed to search for someone, they're telling me they're a monthly parker. I can also go in here and see, oh, if it's Amber, if it's Tammy, I can see, yep, they're a valid monthly parker, and I can send that information, save it to the notes, and open the gate if necessary. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and end this call. It does require you to always have an issue and resolution when you're submitting a call. Okay. And I'm just going to briefly go through my notes, make sure I don't miss anything. I'm going to start with a basic overview of some of the newest features we've had. So I'll wait for another call so that I can use that information. Let's see, okay. And sometimes it's really slow and we don't get calls. Other times this page is full with calls. Okay, so some of the things that we've updated, and I'll show you here, is if we wanted to add an alert. So sometimes we get a caller that says, the gate was just broken. So gate broken, we'll call out to the facility manager, and perhaps they'll tell us, we want you to redirect them to exit 2. So we can add this as an alert. I'm gonna end this call, put my comments in. And what that will do, as soon as I get another call, you'll see that that alert will now pop up. And the way it shows on this screen here, you'll see this little triangle here. It tells the agent right off the bat that there is an alert on this call. And when they answer it, it's up here highlighted in pink. So rather than us spending too much time trying to troubleshoot with someone, we can see right away that there is a broken gate and we need to redirect them to another exit. And so that's how the agent would proceed with that. And I'm going to use that. Let's see. I'm gonna have to go to a different screen to highlight the change. Okay. So I'm going to end this call. Oh, actually, I'm going to use this to highlight the recent calls. That's also a new feature. So right here under recent calls, we can see the last 3 calls from this facility. And the way that's helpful is if there is a series of calls that have all been credit card issues, then we know, this may be a point of us needing to have to call out to the facility manager. So it's not just a credit card issue that someone was having with their particular card. It might be something that needs to be checked out by the facility manager. Or if someone doesn't tell us, that a credit card machine is broken or anything in advance. Sometimes the facility manager can reach out to us and tell us, hey, there's something wrong with our credit card machine. I need you to push text to pay, or I need you to push, different mobile options, and we can add those as alerts as well. But this recent calls helps us to identify what are the last 3 calls that we've gotten from this facility, just to help identify if there are any issues. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and end this call. Edit. Okay. And I'll wait for another call. With those alerts, one thing to note is those should be temporary situations. So something like we just said, or if it's a big event, validations aren't working, go ahead and take the information. just as some examples. So another example might be, there's a big event happening and you don't want the lane to be backed up. So, if they mentioned they were at this event and you want us to just let them out, those are also alerts that we can add up here. If let's say we're working with a customer who paid at the pay on foot station and we've confirmed that she's paid, she's gotten her receipt, and for whatever reason, at the exit, it's not letting her take the exit, exit with her paid ticket. That's another temporary situation. We can put that we verified Sally paid. It's okay to let Sally out. So that might be another reason we might use that alert. So if it's a more permanent situation, that we would add to our business rules here under the business rules. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end this call. Oh. That is, now I'm stuck. I'm going to go to the facility here, just a minute. Show floor facility. And under alerts, another new feature that we have is updated by. So sometimes someone will put an alert and we notice that it needs to be extended. So maybe we go in there and we say, well, this is not going to be fixed until Monday. So I need to extend that alert until Monday and save it so that it stays up. Alerts will only stay up for 24 hours unless they're extended or edited. So if it were someone else, it now records who it's updated by. And so if there's, a question or a reason for the extension, we can go straight to the person who updated it and know exactly why it was updated or what needed to be changed. So that's a new feature. Another new feature under our facility contacts is you can select to have a call detail report sent out to you, which is for a particular scenario. If you wanted to be notified every time a gate vent happens or every time there's an equipment issue, these are the call detail reports. Then you can also be receiving daily call reports. So the call log that we end up every day emailing the next morning will show you just a list of calls taken. The newest feature is that we were also able to send you a monthly call log. So rather than having to go into the Parker performance page and run the call yourself or run the log yourself, we can send you now a monthly call log as well. In addition to that, the other feature for the call detail report is that we can also identify exactly which issue. So let's say that Tammy is interested in getting all call detail reports. She wants to get every time any of these happen, she wants to get an email. But let's say there is another person who is just in maintenance and they're only interested in if there's a credit card issue because it might be the credit card machine, or an equipment issue, which isn't listed in here, but an equipment issue. So anytime there's anything having to do with just credit cards or receipt, maybe it's out of receipt paper, we can now specify the types of call details that someone gets. So that is a new feature. Let's see. Monthly report option, call notifications. The other thing on the call log, going back to the queue, there are times where an agent will set themselves up as unavailable and then for whatever reason doesn't have to go back into the queue and they log off. It used to hang them on unavailable, and that's been changed so that it will now take them out of unavailable, so that they're not hung in there. The next time they log in, it'll default back to available. CSR logs. That is a new feature for those of you that take your own calls on our platform. You can also go through and review CSR logs, and that will tell you if they were unavailable, what time they went unavailable, and the duration of time. So just for auditing purposes, it's just a nice way to have a quick glance at your agents and where their time is being spent. This can be downloaded to PDF or CSV as well.
And Claudia, one note on this one, we've noticed too, sometimes when we're talking to our CSRs, they may, have questions as to why their call volume is down. And we have run this report in some instances to show somebody exactly how many times they're walking away from their desk. Sometimes, when you're there for 8 hours, you don't pay as much attention. So it's something that's real data that you can set in front of somebody, and you're not saying, oh, I think you're leaving your desk too often. You can run a report and show somebody exactly how many times that they've been unavailable in the queue.
Great point. So I'm going to move on. I know I'm spending a little bit, I'm running out of time here. Some features that aren't always used as often is, let me see, where are we? Show for facility. When we're doing issues and resolutions, there are times where if there is a credit card issue, you want to make sure that you're capturing some information before you open the gate. And so we have this called configurable fields. I'm just going to go for quick sake purposes, just go through some of our defaults. So for example, for monthly, or actually I'm going to use credit card, I'm going to use standard. So maybe you always want to get their name for sure. So that'll be required. You want to get their phone number, their ticket number, and maybe their amount due if they're able to scan it. So we'll save that. And then we'll want to associate that configurable form, which was our standard form, to any credit card issue and maybe any insufficient funds issue. And I would just, now, when I'm talking to that person and I'm going through the credit card issue, these are forms that are going to be completed and required before I open the gate. And for us, that's really important because you as a client have asked us to capture this information. And it's just a way to ensure that we're capturing it as a required field before we open the gate. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the queue and wait for a call and show you what this looks like for the CSR. And these are completely customizable. You can name the form whatever you want, and you can have whatever fields you would like. So that was a credit card issue. And you can see that when I selected credit card issue, now on the right-hand side, instead of the open gate being there enabled, it's telling me I have some required fields that I need to ask this person. And it'll even give you some tips, like if there's, under monthly, if there's a certain numbers that I need to collect, things like that. So here I'm going to ask, what is your name? What is your phone number? And then what's the ticket number? And if she tells me I don't know, where is that ticket number? Again, remember, I can go back to the image and tell her exactly where that ticket number is. And then this one is not required, but if she can tell me how much she owes, I can add that too. And then once I've submitted that, you can see that the open gate now is enabled, and I'm able to open that gate for her. And this open gate message sent is something that's automatically stamped on the notes. So there is no doubt that we attempted to open the gate. And all of the information I collected is also on the notes. So it's not anything we need to copy and paste or anything like that. It's automatic. I'm going to end this call and submit that. Oops, see, it's reminding me I need a resolution. Actually, that wasn't successful. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'm just going to go through two more if I can get one more call. The other thing I wanted to highlight that is a new feature is this message to endpoint. For those that have video endpoints, if I'm talking to the motorist and for whatever reason they can't hear me, maybe it's the speaker, maybe it's they're just hard of hearing. One of the things that we can do here is type in our question and send it, and it'll display on the screen. So I can hear her, and so she reads my message and she says she can't hear me, or or yes, I can hear you. So I can use this though because she can read now. I don't have to end the call and have them try call back again or have there be an issue with this endpoint. We can still reach out to the facility manager, let them know there's an issue with the audio, but at least I can continue my conversation through the message to endpoint, and she can relay back to me what her issue is. So I wanted to highlight that. I think that I've covered everything I needed to cover as far as new features and other features. So I'm going to end this call. And stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to turn it over to Lanisha, who's going to highlight some of our API features. And have her share her screen, and then I'll be the motorist for you, Lanisha.
Claudia. Can my screen up to share?
Perfect.
And then you all see the call queue?
Yes, we can see it. And you'll want to take yourself off video, and then I will go ahead and make that call for you.
All right. So I'll be demonstrating the API. So the feature allows us to be able to push rates and to look up monthly features. Monthly motorist. Some of the features may include allowing us to push a rate to the machine when the ticket can't be scanned or read, and also looking up the monthly parkers for active or inactive status, and it gives us the ability to reset their credential. So I'll start with monthly parkers. That's usually the one that people find the most helpful. A lot of times if there's a motorist that has a permit to get in and out of the facility, if that permit is not working for whatever reason, this allows us the ability to look the motorist up. So as an example, we'll use Tammy. And we'll type her name as the contact and search. So as you can see, it brings up the name. It gives us her status and shows that she's valid. And it shows us a mobile number in case that's any information that the garage needs us to collect. So the select option populates the information to the call notes. This makes it to where we don't have to type it in or potentially misspell the name. It'll bring it over from the report just the way as it is in their system. So this also would allow us to see the activity. People like to see activity in case there's any issues of abuse or past sharing. It would basically show us here the time that she came in, what kiosk that she used, and if it was an entry or exit. The reset option also gives us the ability to reset the credential, putting it back into the neutral status, allowing for, if she was at the entry or exit, for it to work to come back in. So if she was at the exit and it was saying that it thinks that she's already outside, resetting it will put it in a neutral status and allow her to use the pass to get out. And then moving forward, it will be back in sync. So for pushing rates for us, a lot of times pushing rates are, this feature is used in the instance that the motorist cannot scan or the machine's not reading their parking ticket. Or if the ticket's damaged or lost even, this allows us to enter either the ticket number, if they still have the ticket available and it's just not scanning, maybe only the barcode portion of the ticket isn't working. This allows us to enter in that ticket number. And once the ticket number is entered, it will populate and send a fee to the motorist so that they are able to pay. And then that's what opens the gate. So that way we're not losing that revenue for a damaged ticket. We would still be able to charge them accordingly for the time that they've been in, and they can make the appropriate payment. Let's say for whatever reason, a motorist happens to lose their parking ticket. Coming in, they could have their hands full or on the way out from payment. They could have just dropped the paid ticket. For here, it allows us to pick the date and time, the date and the time that they enter. And depending on the rates that you have set up with your parks provider, it would give us options on different payments that you want sent over to the motorist. So if it's just a $2 flat rate for the day, even if they came in the day before or an hour before, we could create that ticket. It would now put the $2 rate to the screen for the motorist, and they can use that to pay and the gate opens. A lot of people like to think of this feature to ensure revenue. So again, as I said, if the ticket's lost, damaged, or for whatever reason not reading, instead of just the gate having to be opened and now this person has been let out for free, you're still able to collect revenue. This feature can also be used in any case that your entry is not producing a ticket at all. Let's say for event purposes, different people come in at different times, or if their gates open, we would also be able to send a rate to the exit according to the time they've been in. That is a easier, or I like to think of a smoother transition with the motorist in many cases, because they're not being forced to pay the full daily fee, and we can push them the appropriate rate for the time that they've been in. I think I've covered everything for here. Claudia, is there anything that you suggest that I go over or may have missed? No? All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and kick this over to Brett. You can start his demo for us.
Awesome. Yeah, so just as a quick recap, Claudia and Lanisha just showed everyone the wonderful functionality that we have to troubleshoot calls, putting as much information as possible at the fingertips of our CSRs so that they are equipped and ready to handle various scenarios. So now you might be wondering, what happens to all of that wonderful data that gets collected, all of that hard work that the CSR put into, into troubleshooting that call successfully, how can we go about looking at that data and viewing it in a very digestible way? So that is what I'm going to show you with the performance page within Parker. So I will get this pulled up. So in the client portal, you'll have access to this tab up here, which is our performance page. So this is going to be where all of that data is housed, where you can go back and review calls, listen to previous calls, and so on and so forth. So just going to quickly walk through this page and kind of what some of these buttons mean and how you can go about pulling the pertinent call data for a record or for a date and time that you want to see. So first thing that we have is the time parameters. So you can select when you want to view your calls from. Let's say we wanted to pull every call from September until today. We can quickly update that, and then the calls will populate. So you'll have this bar here will show just a quick snapshot into some of the call metrics, how long we're taking calls for, how long calls are waiting in the queue before they're answered, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to run through these 5 tabs here. So the first one is call center performance. So really what this call center performance tab means is we're taking a look at your overall call volume. So you've got some different options over here. So this daily tab will show you what days of the week are we getting the most calls from. I'm a big fan of the monthly view of this. So you can see over the last month in September, how many calls did we take and compare to that to month over month to October's call volume. So that summarizes the call center performance. So next we're going to go to issue and resolution stats. So issue and resolution stats will show you of the calls that come in, how are they getting classified? So you see we're getting a lot of calls about general questions about our enter and exit process, followed by the next contributor of call volume of credit card issues. So then we can have a quick view into why are people calling in, and is there any decisions that we need to make in order to reduce call volume? So this third tab here is probably my favorite. So this is the call volume report. So this will show you the line item view of every single call that came in. So using the same facility that Claudia and Lanisha were pulling calls from. So we can see all of that call history from the data that they collected from the motorist and how they went about troubleshooting those calls. So here you'll also have the option to play back an old call. So if I hit play, a pop-up will populate, and then I can go back and listen to that call once it loads. So we're not going to do that today, but just wanted to highlight that you can have a quick, easy view into every call that comes in. And then you also have the option to download into a CSV file or to a PDF for further manipulation. This next tab is the gate VIN log. So if you were curious to see every time that the gate was manually vended by a CSR, you would have an easy way of viewing that as well. And that will also show you what the associated issue and associated resolution were, and any notes that were attached to that call as well. And then finally on this page, we have our managed facility issues. So these are the actual scripts that the CSRs have at their disposal. So this is the information that was collected during the implementation phase and then translated into a script that act as the facility's business rules. So we recommend to clients to go back into their facility issues to make sure that these scripts are up to date, see if there's any edits that need to be changed. Let's say if a process for a credit card issue was handled differently, we'd have an easy way of looking into that to see what the existing rule is and to make changes as necessary. So that is an overview of the performance page. So I've got a scenario to run through, and these are the types of questions that we're answering during our client success meetings. So when we meet with clients, we tend to look at their call data. So in this scenario, I pulled a client with 2 facilities, and we want to see the overall call volume, how calls are getting distributed, and then how calls are getting distributed amongst their 2 facilities. So once you download your data to an Excel file or to that CSV, you'll get this information populated on the left. And again, that's that line item view of each individual call. So then we aggregate that data in order to look at total call volume. So then we've got some different terms to take a look at first. So in this example, over the selected time range, we've taken almost 3,800 calls. And then we're taking out reasons of disconnection, of call volume not really getting attributed to a proper establishment of a connection. And then that brings us to a connectivity rate. So of the almost 3,800 calls that came in, we can see almost 3,300 of them actually established a proper connection. So then further on, we can look at, of those almost 3,300 calls, what was the actual distribution? What were the associated issues with those calls so that we can see our main contributors of call volume? So these facilities receive a lot of monthly parkers. We get followed by some general questions about enter and exit and so on and so forth. So going into this a little bit further, we wanted to break it down. Let's see if there's anything that we can glean about individual facilities contributing to call volume. Maybe there's a problematic facility. So in this example, we can see there's a higher call volume coming from facility 1 compared to facility 2. And then if we look at the connectivity rate for both of those facilities, we see facility 1's connection rate is awesome, no problems there. And then we see that facility 2's is just a little bit lower. So then that would take us to the line of reasoning. Well, let's look into facility 2 a little bit more. So next thing that we can pull is endpoint data. So facility 2 has 1 entry and 1 exit. So we're going to look at total call volume from there and see if we can find anything. So we see that entry 1 is a little bit higher connectivity rate than exit 1. So in this example, we would advise to conduct some testing on exit 1, take a look at the microphone, the connectivity rating, and that line of reasoning. So this was just an example to show you of that Parker data that is collected. We can really get a deep dive into making some positive recommendations for facility and facility operations. So with that all being said, that wraps up my presentation for the performance page, as well as looking at call data. So that is the final portion of our presentation today. So now we will open it up to the participants for a Q&A session.
Thank you, Brett. And as we're gathering questions, I just wanted to add, since we do have some guests here that may not be clients yet, I do want to point out that all of this feature and functionality is available for typically any type of equipment you may have. So it's not necessary that you buy our intercoms. We connect with any equipment, any intercoms. We have some API functionality already existing with many of our parks vendors and others that are in the works. So we're continuing to expand our API capabilities. And typically on the implementation side, if you're looking to get started right away, it can be as quickly as a couple of days, as long as we get your business rules and we're in touch with our vendors and can get the configuration set up for your type of intercom. We've seen it done in as quickly as just a couple of days. So quick and easy. I don't know. Let's see if I can see if any questions are coming in. Hopefully you found some valuable insights into our platform. If you're using our platform, hopefully you were able to take some tips away if your teams take those calls. Let's see.
I see a question out there we are actively working on an API with T2, but it is not something that is in the platform yet.
There's another question in the Q&A section where it says, where do we go to review our business rules?
Oh, perfect. Actually, Brett, if you can share your screen real quick.
Yeah, so it's a common question. So that'll be back into the performance page and then this manage facility issues tab. So there, like mentioned, you've got every issue and what the associated rules are, what those scripts are. So you might have a couple different pages of it as well. So that's where you'll have the option to view the existing scripts.
And just for the group too, if we are taking your calls, you won't be able to edit the notes there, but you can copy and paste them into an email letting us and write it and send an email to facilityupdates@parkertechnology.com, and then let us know what changes you want to have made. We kind of have a standard template that we try to keep everything to for the call center. So we like to update the notes ourselves so that we can maintain that template.
Looks like we have another question. Can parks vendors have access to the reporting page for our clients?
If the client, anybody that the client at a particular facility asks us to set up for their facility, we can grant access to the performance page. It would just need to be requested by the facility.
All right, another question. Brett, can you go over what you cover during your client success meetings?
Yeah, absolutely. So typically in our client success meetings, we like to establish a good understanding of our clients' business rules. So first, we'll talk about their prioritizations for how they want their operations to be run. So a couple examples of how that may work out in these meetings is if, maybe there's a facility that's a little bit more revenue collected, or revenue collection is a higher priority on their list. So in the client success meeting, we can take a look at their facility rules, talk about those individual call scenarios where maybe they could handle a little bit differently to collect some more revenue. And vice versa, if we're talking with a client that has maybe a little bit heavier emphasis on customer service and wanting their customer satisfaction scores up as much as possible, we can look into how often, how long we're taking calls, what's the call duration in order to try to minimize that as much as possible. Again, we'll take a look at those facilities business rules to make sure that those scenarios are covered in a customer service orientation. So after we establish that, the understanding of what the business's facility rules are, we can look back into the call data and see if there's any insights that we can get and really any recommendations that we can make for those facility operations. So those are just some quick highlights into what we look at during those client success meetings.
Yeah, and I think we have another question around gateless facilities. I know that that's a bit of the buzz in the industry at this point, and I've even had people ask us if how Parker feels about gateless options. And we have a couple of gateless facilities on the platform already, and actually one of them has, I think, 10 different lots that we take the calls for now. In one of our gateless solutions, we get more calls from the gateless solution than we do like 5 or 6 of the other gated facilities combined. So no matter what your solution is, you're still going to have payment options. You're still going to have customers, especially if they're in transient areas that are using the system that maybe don't use systems very much and have questions. And you're still going to run into issues with your equipment on site or somebody's ability to use a QR code to make a payment. And so that's where Parker comes in to help with any of those instances. We can still help talk people through payment options, give them information. Sometimes they just want to hit a button just to make sure that they're allowed to park somewhere because they don't know if they're allowed to park there. And so we can handle all of that, whether there's a gate or not. And even if there isn't a machine, we can provide a QR code and you use our mobile endpoint, and it could be like a FaceTime call, just like we were doing in this video, for people to call in and ask questions. And then we are constantly adding to the list of vendors that we are working on APIs with. So the further we are able to reach out into that community and build those API connections, we will continue to do that even with the gateless options and being able to help and reach into those systems to get information about the payments also.
All right, I think we have time for one more question. So Tammy, I'm going to kick it back over to you. Can you explain how using the platform you can collect more revenue from the facility?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different things. So the first part of that is making sure we really understand you, because we have many different um, facilities and that have very different views on how they run their business. So the first thing is making sure we understand, and or that we have helped you put the information in the system for your CSRs to properly understand. Is this high touch, high traffic flow? Is it revenue control? You know, if my mom comes, does she have to pay even if she has problems, or does she have to park the car and ask somebody to bring her money, right? So how tight do you need your rules, and making sure that we're managing to those. Past that is going through and digging into those call logs, being able to look at the data and some of the ways that Brett had presented it, and see what's actually happening. Are we vending too much? Are we not vending enough? Are we creating a traffic flow problem? You know, how many validation issues have you had? And is it always from the same person, the same coffee shop down the street that's messing up their validations all the time? Is all your information recorded properly so you can do your billing? So really digging into that data that's provided and it's so rich in the system. Those are the ways to protect the revenue and allow us to help you.
Wonderful. All right, with these last few minutes, we do have a couple of polls that we'd like to get out there. Hopefully you found this valuable information. We'd love to get some feedback from you. So the first one is, did you learn something new? Hopefully you learned something new and it was valuable and you can take it back and either use it with your clients, with your call center, or know that we can do for you. Cool. Wonderful. And then we do have a question about facility portfolio reviews. So for client success, we've been reaching out. Maybe we've touched some of your facilities already, but we've been reaching out to see how many people are interested in actually doing a portfolio review and getting that data and being able to make some decisions based on data and changing rules if necessary, or changing your strategies and things like that. So that's wonderful. I think we have our booking page calendar and our email. If you're interested, please feel free to look at our availability and send us a request. And then finally, if you are comfortable with your own data, would you be interested in a performance page, maybe training session, how to take that data and parse it out like we showed you in Excel, and be able to use data fields and filters and things like that. So if you're interested, that's another thing that we can help you with at that same calendar booking page or email. Right. Well, we are right at the top of our, the end of our presentation time. We appreciate you joining us. We thank you so much for the feedback. And we are going to announce shortly who the winner of our Uber Eats gift card is. We'll send that out to the winner, and then we'll announce it on our social page so that everyone will know. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great afternoon.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.